Imagine hiking 478 miles over the course of a month, walking 15 to 20 miles a day with only the amount of food and water that you could fit inside of this little scallop shell. For many historical pilgrims walking the Camino de Santiago, this was a reality. Have you ever been on a vacation or done something that you feel transformed you in a positive way? That's how the Camino de Santiago felt for me. I hiked 301 kilometers of the Camino last summer with my dad, so I experienced about half of the full trail. This speech will tell you about my vacation to Spain to hike the Camino. I'm going to talk about the history of the Camino, the logistics of hiking the trail with my dad, and the camaraderie that we experienced along the way. First, I'll tell you a little bit about the history of this pilgrimage. The history of the Camino dates all the way back to the Middle Ages. The scallop shell that I just showed you is a well-known symbol of the Camino. In the past, it was all pilgrims carried with them to receive donations of food and water from villagers as they passed through. Now, pilgrims carry it with them, usually on their backpacks, as a symbol that they're walking the Camino, and there are little shells all along the trail to mark the way. St. James was said to be the first person to ever complete the Camino. His bones are now held in the cathedral at Santiago de Compostela, which is the final destination point for the millions of pilgrims that have walked this trail since the Middle Ages. Next, I'll tell you about the logistics of my pilgrimage to Santiago with my dad. This is how we hiked the Camino over the course of 2 weeks. Each day, we hiked for about 8 hours. My dad and I started in León, Spain, and we finished our journey in Santiago de Compostela. We spent 2 weeks hiking every day, and our trip totaled 301 kilometers, or about 187 miles. Every day, we woke up at sunrise and began hiking for an average of 15 to 25 miles a day. The trail varied from rural stretches through tiny villages and farmlands, through big cities along busy sidewalks with cars speeding by us. Each night, we stayed in little albergues, or hostels in English. We would end our day by hiking into the village that we were staying in overnight, and we would search for an albergue to stay in. They were usually filled with bunk beds in dormitory-like rooms, filled to the brims with other pilgrims. Lastly, I'm going to tell you about the camaraderie that we experienced while hiking the Camino. About 300,000 people hike the Camino each year. We met people from all over the world. We would sometimes spend several days hiking with a group of people, or just talk to them for a few minutes as they passed by us on the trail. We met people from 22 different countries during the 2 weeks that we spent on the trail. These included France, Thailand, South Africa, Japan, Italy, and many more. I had the chance to develop a stronger relationship with my father also. We hadn't been communicating as much over the last few years, and so hiking the Camino was a great way to reconnect with him. Thus, I have covered the main points of my vacation to Spain. I don't want to go into too many details about this wonderful experience. I've already discussed a little bit of the history of the Camino, the logistics of hiking a portion of the trail with my dad, and the camaraderie that we experienced along the way. I hope that this presentation might inspire you to check out the Camino de Santiago for yourself one day. It gets pretty tiring hiking so much though, so if you do end up hiking the Camino one day, I recommend eating and drinking a little bit more than a shell's worth.